It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number
119.
Death to the Daleks.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
Resulting reaction, destroyed it. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast, the only podcast where Dan is currently at home as opposed to on the road with his Jack Kerouac podcast. Hey, is this stuff really that good? Dan, how are you? No, I'm sorry. In deference to the estate of Jack Kerouac. I've never actually read a Jack Kerouac book. Can you believe it?
I tried. No, I do believe it. No, I don't believe it, actually. I think you tried reading On the Road. Come on. We all did at one point.
I should have. I was more into Burroughs. I did read a lot of William Burroughs, but I never read. I don't know why.
It's okay. I honestly don't think you're missing anything. Well, I haven't read it. Yeah. I tried reading it as a disaffected youth, as I was also trying to learn how to smoke cigarettes because that was cool. Eric, what brand did I start smoking?
Parliament Lights. Oh, start? No. Yeah, I think you eventually ended up at Parliament Lights. I'm going to say Marlboro Lights. A light of some kind.
I'm a real a-hole. Come on, go with it.
Is it cloves?
Yes, it was cloves.
Yes. The clue helped, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
I went to an arcade way back when there were.
Is that what you bought? You bought them at the arcade?
In a college town, and I bought a pack of cloves, charms, and I was playing video games and smoking them, and they got real sick.
Cloves and American Spirits, remember those?
And sure.
They were like, I don't go for that big tobacco stuff. Give me little tobacco that was probably owned by Big Tobacco.
The all-natural stuff. Hey, by the way, this podcast is now sponsored by Big Tobacco.
Yeah, I smoked when I was 13, maybe, or 14. It's weird because my kids are older than that, and I was smoking. By the time I was like,
get them a pack of cigarettes
smoking
for
a pack a day.
Yeah. What? When they turned 13, did you get them a pack of cigarettes?
Oh, of course. Like well, now they vape, But I was like, no, we're going. My kids would never know how dumb cigarettes were, like the Joe Camel Bucks.
Yeah.
Had to be the dumbest thing in the world, right?
Well, they had the Marlboro Miles. Was it Miles from Marlboro as well?
Yeah, Marlboro Miles to get like a wetsuit, like the stuff that you're never going to use if you're a burnout smoking.
Get a leatherette jacket, it'd be fine.
Hey, you want a leather jacket to look like Harley Davidson in the Marlboro Man?
It's not real leather. Don't get cigarettes near it; it'll melt.
Yeah, I smoked Camel Lights for years, and then I ended up with Marlboro Reds. Well, you're not here to tune in to hear about our smoking.
Is this not what we're talking about today?
No, we're not talking about smoking.
What we're talking about is it's the week of the release
of Dune.
And
I'm going on Friday. We talked about going together. I'm still down with going together. But of course, I got tickets on Friday. I wanted tickets on Thursday, and I'm going to take my kids want to go see it, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But my wife was like, "We can't go on a school night," so I have to wait.
Did your wife just come in the room? Because that was uncanny.
I know it was as if she was here. I have to wait until Friday, like an animal. But I will see it. Are you seeing it before me?
I think we're going to go see it on Thursday. I wanted to go see it.
You're going to see it before me.
But we're going to go up to Vermont this coming weekend, and we're going to be away for a couple of weeks as we're finishing stuff up there. So, you and I will have to catch it on a repeat.
Yeah, I'm going to see it again. I'm going to see it multiple times. Same. I also am going to a regular showing.
Same.
And my daughter wants to see the IMAX one, which is great.
That's fine.
But where we were going, the theater didn't have an IMAX, so I'm at least seeing it again with her, probably, unless it's terrible, which I don't think it will be. And then if you want to go see it, I'll meet you halfway. Across the Sky, The New Beginning, Only You and I. What is that?
I don't know.
Meet me halfway across the sky. Make it a new beginning, only you. I may be making up the lyrics. That is something. Whip out your Shazam apps, friends. No, we're not here to talk about Shazam apps. We're not here to talk about how Goblin is currently in stores everywhere, wherever fine books are sold, and you should purchase it, and you should send me a picture of you holding it, and I will love you forever. But not even that, Dan, not even that. Are we here to talk about the new Doctor Who trailer? Dan is showing me a picture of Nicholas Brendan, who played...
These two photos together is what I'm really enjoying.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It kind of works
Husband
nicely.
and wife pair you got there. That's beautiful.
Yeah. People listen to a podcast totally want to know what visual we're showing ourselves.
Also, I don't think we were recording when we were talking about Nicholas Brendan, were we?
I have no idea.
Nope,
it's possible that came out of nowhere. It's likely that came out of nowhere, but that's the kind of content you expect when TODWS rolls into town. The Carnival of Fun, they say. The Carnival of Monsters. A previous review. No, what was I talking about? Are we going to talk about the new Doctor Who teaser trailer for the one season of one story, which you were very happy about them doing, and I agree with you.
Yeah, I feel like the last season or two, this is true in any of the new Who. It's true in all of Doctor Who, any long-running serial format. There's hits and misses throughout a season. Sometimes they're really kind of goofy, and you just kind of go off on a side thing that has nothing to do with anything. And at least in some of the new Who, depending on the showrunner, you'll still get somewhere slipped in there something that has to do with the overall arc of the season. That you could think of the crack in Amy's wall. Even then, when they were doing weird stuff that had nothing to do with anything, at least at some point in the episode you'd see that, or with Amy's pregnancy and all. But this one, they're just going to focus on the one story. They're calling it a story, I think, in 6 chapters. And I guess this is going to be Jodie Whittaker's final season?
Yeah, her swan song.
Ron Swan song. And then we have a new showrunner coming back. Well, a new old showrunner.
But I think it's a listener had pointed out that it was going to be a long time, and then I think officially they have said it is going to be like a year, right?
Yeah, and not that we haven't gone through that before.
Right, it is a long time. But yeah, Russell T Davies is coming back. I also agree with you. I like a single sort of story. Like I even like we had that with the key to time, key of time, key to time, doesn't matter.
Key of time.
It was a key, but was it?
Key time.
So I like that, and I imagine it's probably going to be overarching story, but many things within probably,
it. But I think it feels like from everything they're saying in the press that it is much.
But more of the. Yeah. Which I think is great. I mean, that totally is how I would love to see more Doctor Who's. Although I do miss the 2-parters. I feel like we don't get enough of those 2-parters, but that's a whole other discussion.
But if you're thinking of 45-minute, 50-minute episodes, 6 of those, that's basically 2 long feature-length films back to back. That's
while we're programming Doctor Who. I want 6, while we're programming Doctor Who as a collective unit, I want 6 episodes of Doctor Who per season, and I want them to be one story. That, to me, would be the perfect sort of world. I
mean, I would agree with that. I feel like 6 is too short for a regular season.
Is it? I like that. They do that a lot. The BBC does that a lot, and when you get a show over here in streaming, when it's 6 to 8, I'm psyched because that's something I can really sort of get into. I like the mini series, especially because you could be very, very focused on the thing without it feeling like, oh, here's the episode that's the filler till we get to the,
Or when they do, the limited series, when it's not just here's a filler episode, but here's what they're setting up for the
here's the
thing.
Mayor of Oatstown or whatever that Kate Winslet thing was called.
But here's how they're gonna do a season 2. Here's where the thing's going. No, this is it. This is a self-contained little game.
Children of the Men.
The Corn.
No, Children of the Corn with Malachi. No, what was the
Corn of Men?
What was the Russell T Davies
Of Mice and Men.
Torchwood thing?
Children of Earth.
Children of Earth, whatever it was called. That was only 5 episodes, right, or 6 episodes.
Right. It was.
That was great. I like.
But
that.
Was it great though?
It was great. Oh, I loved it. I thought that was very good. That was probably my favorite Torchwood thing that they've ever done. I mean, I think there was a proper season, right?
Oh, wait,
and
that was the one. I did like that one. What was the one that followed it up?
That was the one when it went to the U.S. and it was like
Yes.
co-produced with Stars or something.
Yeah,
and
Stars.
it had a great idea, but anyway, we're not here to talk about it.
Why aren't we? This is all
Why
within the
are
universe.
we here?
This is all within the universe of who?
Because we want to say death to the Daleks.
What an unusual title for this.
Well, let's talk about the title as we get. Let's talk. We have a lot to talk about as soon as you hit that button.
All right.
And as soon as you hit that button at home and pre-order Goblin. Well, you don't have to pre-order. It's already out. Maybe you have to pre-order another version of Goblin. Okay, so let's go. Let's hit that button, Dan. Dan.
Well, well, well. Daleks without the power to kill. How does it feel?
Keep away! Keep away!
And if I don't, what will you do? Your weapons are totally useless. Affected by the same energy blackout that has stranded us.
The power failure is temporary. Superior Dalek technology will overcome interference shortly. Meanwhile, you will obey our orders.
You're not in a position to give any orders. No. No, we're all in this together. All equal. All powerless.
The Daleks are the supreme beings of the universe. Dalek technology...
Spare us the propaganda. I think our best interest will be served by joining forces.
Daleks do not require the cooperation of inferior creatures.
Think about it. There are 4 of you and 5 of us.
This is Death to the Daleks. This is the 3rd serial of the 11th season, lucky number 11. It came at us in 1974, same year that I was born. So the world was like, hey, check out this Dalek story. And then they were like, hey, check out this really tall kid. This is written by Terry Nation, of course, and it was directed. That sounded like I was throwing a lot of shade on Terry Nation.
It really did.
It only because if a Dalek's involved, Terry's got to be there.
Yep.
Ain't nobody write a Dalek story without Terry Nation.
Money.
Yeah, it's directed by Michael E. Bryant. Right? Is it Brian or Brian? Who knows?
Bryant.
Spelled? Yeah, Bryant. I thought so. The Doctor and Sarah Jane's beach party gets canceled when they lose power and end up on a planet run by trash bag weirdos and a city with an attitude problem and a penchant for brain puzzles. Dan, what did you think of Death to the Daleks?
Oh boy.
Oh.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yay!
I like the combination of the 3rd Doctor and Sarah. A lot of fun. I like the setting. The production design overall was pretty good. The burlap sack covered minions of the city. Whatever. They didn't look great, and I honestly couldn't tell if the creatures were wearing masks on top of their faces,
or was that their actual face?
Or was that their actual face? So that bothered me the entire time.
Well, I can answer that for you, but yes, keep going.
Okay, great. I liked the whole city, the puzzle, test of intelligence to get through to the brains of the city. I thought that was cool. The only thing I really didn't like about the story is the Daleks. I just didn't see. Apparently, they originally were not in the story. This is according to the internet, so who knows if that's actually true. And then added to it, I wonder what it would have been like without them. Probably also wouldn't have liked it then too. But I overall didn't. I don't think they added a whole lot to it. But given that they were there, they did some interesting things, like having their energy weapons being disabled, and the Dalek who commits suicide because he failed his mission. He committed suicide by whining, which was so sad.
That was pretty interesting.
But overall, yeah, I think it was a fun story. Thank God it was a 4-parter. It kind of kept moving throughout. The supporting cast was good. You had the moral ambiguity of the what was his name, Galloway. Which was fun. So yeah, overall I liked it. Eric, tell me what you thought about this story.
Well, Dan, with the fear of sounding boring, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I liked it a lot. I actually liked the part 3 and 4 a lot more than I liked part 1 and 2.
Same here.
Only because I thought the Doctor and what was the guy's name?
Bilal.
Yeah, were great. I liked them.
Yeah.
I liked the whole idea of the city and that it's a room of logic puzzles.
Yeah.
But just to bounce back to the top of it, I thought it was good. I liked Sarah Jane and the Doctor together for the most part. Mm-hmm. There was a few times where I found the Doctor to be a little bit sort of irritating, in the sense that like she was just like she's just being herself, and he's like, that's sarcasm. Like, not that he was being a jerk, but he's a little, I guess, patronizing to a point. Yeah. I thought it was really sad when she was like, please don't leave. And
immediately.
Then when he said that, I was like, that's so sad because Tom Baker is going to abandon her. And then he actually abandoned her first. Yeah. And it's like, this poor woman has this fear of abandonment that he's just playing on. Like, why did he say, of course I won't, and then walk away?
And immediately walk away. Like, they should have
weird.
panned down to like behind his back, and you could see him crossing his fingers. Like, she walks away and then comes back to him to like, with a panicked look in her eyes, and say, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and she almost gets killed because she's trying to find him.
Yep.
Whatever.
And he knows that too. He
does.
She, with any luck, she's still in the TARDIS, but knowing her, she's headstrong. She's probably out there looking
it's not
for
a surprise.
Chuckle. Like, it's horrible.
I like how the Doctor had inflatables. I thought that was like, oh, he's got pool supplies in this thing. Sarah Jane, not my favorite performance of hers. I mean, I guess what they did to her character was not my favorite, because she's much more like damsel in distress. She even like sees blood on they have no light. The only thing they have is this lamp, and she sees blood and she like screams and breaks it. But she's also supposed to be this reporter she puts herself in dangerous situations. So for her to react that way to blood felt a little bit like,
Yeah, she was freaked out though. I mean, abandoned.
I guess. A lot of big Planet of the Apes energy, I felt like, coming off this whole set, like with the way that all the exterior stuff and the canyons, and then the other, we have a whole other astronaut crew of military people that are there, and all of that just felt to me a little bit like Planet of the Apes. The Doctor had interesting boots on. I was like, oh, what are those cowboy boots or something? You probably missed it, but run back and then look at what the Doctor's boots are. I always liked like when Pertwee has fun with the Venetian judo chops, and there's lots of that.
Lots of it.
I really liked the enemy design. You mentioned like, is it a mask or not? But it's not a mask, because you see like their species.
Yeah, I know.
Through that other guy, and that's just how they look. But though they were at first, they're kind of dumb because they're just like these hulking. They have like robes on or whatever. But when you do see their faces, like when you see the High Priest and stuff, I thought those looked really cool. I like the character of June. She was the most optimistic person. And like, it was almost like if you had recast her as a 12-year-old girl, it would have worked too, because she was just so big-eyed and like, the ship's coming. And then she's all smiles and she's over there and she's like, oh, look at this. Like, a lot of optimism.
This was Jill, the geologist.
Jill, yes. Yeah, I wrote June. Yes, Jill, not June. I felt like the good creature, the one that Sarah Jane discovers, and the one that goes with the Doctor that I mentioned before, he also looked at times like Joey Ramone. So, and again, I did not eat or ingest anything, I should point out, because last time we had a whole other adventure. This was your regular adventure. There was a couple of things. I guess we should just talk about it. Yeah, the Daleks shouldn't have been in it. It was cool that they were to the point that, they don't have weapons.
Yeah.
Now they're going to work with the Doctor together. And that was an interesting idea that wasn't developed. Like, they never really worked together. The Daleks almost immediately took over.
It could never work together. And that was from the beginning, the Doctor saying, don't trust them an inch. Like,
he was saying both things, right? Yes. He was that guy at the meeting that's optimistic. On both. That's like, we're not accomplishing anything. He's like, you should. They have the most advanced technology in the world. And he's like, you're right. Let's partner with them. No, you can't trust them. It's like, which side? You're just telling me everything, but not really helping me with the decision. But they never really worked together, so that wasn't developed. And then it was like, okay, well, we're going to go through these logic puzzles, and we're going to watch as the Daleks figure it out. And you get to that one room where it's maybe the third puzzle in, and they don't know what the puzzle is.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know what the puzzle is, because all of a sudden, the one guy turns against the doctor,
right.
And the doctor's like, don't fire, and they have that moment, and then they both pass, and the door opens, and they leave. And then I'm like, oh, the Daleks are going to go in there, and they don't have any mercy or whatever, and then one Dalek was going to kill the other Dalek, but they just passed. They didn't even show them take that challenge.
That would have been so good.
Right? So I was like...
Can we go back in time and fix that one?
But why?
That's much better.
Right, and then you get to the part where they have to do hopscotch, and you're like, the Daleks can't do that, so what? They just rolled right over it. Or no, the first one got electrocuted, and the other one shot it. Yeah. Even though it's self-healing, he was able to get a... I don't know. It was weird to have them even in there because they didn't really do much with the Daleks and the puzzles.
I mean, it did set up the kind of ticking clock, or the fact of being chased, like the slow motion chase,
I guess,
through the puzzles, which was fine. But like, it didn't really make sense. It feels like maybe all these logic puzzles were already in the script before they decided to add the Daleks, because...
Yeah, I think you brought that up, and that makes sense.
Doesn't make any sense. That room of aggression doesn't make any sense. They didn't do anything with, like, the test of their sanity, which they couldn't have passed. And the first one of going through the maze, what did they trace the maze with their eye stalk? Like, it was a touch-sensitive thing to, like, move... Like, none of that made sense. Yeah, none of that made...
Right.
But still, overall... I enjoyed it,
and because it was so wet, like the skeletons and the way that the shots were composed and stuff, where you have like the skeleton in the foreground and you see them in the background. All that stuff was cool, and the idea that people would go from room to room and then die, and you're like, Chester Copperpot, Copperpot got this far. The doctor's gonna get all the way. So all that was cool, but I'm very interested in what you brought up. Like, okay, the Daleks weren't supposed to be in this. So was this a Terry Nation story that was without Daleks, and everyone's like, we hired you because we wanted Daleks, and then he's got to shoehorn them in? Or was it an idea that they brought him on, and he's like, once Daleks are involved, it's my name on that script? Like, how did that work?
I don't know. I mean, this is literally just like a bullet point on a article about it. But it seems like the way that was worded was, it was by his insistence that they were added as kind of a cash grab. But I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think there's a lot of like ill will towards that sort of like just kind of shoehorning things in. And maybe this was the case, maybe it wasn't. But given the way the story is structured and the overall arc of the story, you could see how it makes sense or see how it's plausible that they were just kind of crammed into the last second.
Yeah,
it was not built with this in mind. It
appears that way. But when we did have them, I was fine with it, because I didn't mind because they can be entertaining, and I liked watching the suicide, like you brought up. And, you got to see that one human who ended up redeeming himself at the end, like the weapons guy, and how he was dealing with them. All that stuff was fine. I thought the weakest part of all of it, Daleks inclusion aside, was the music. I felt like the music at times sounded like Laurel and Hardy. Yeah. Like almost like a comedy. Like a bumbling, yeah, it didn't fit with how great the art direction was. So the art direction and the costuming and the sets all were great. And then you had this like weird music. Like it was like, I don't know. That was the only part that I sort of didn't like. And one more thing about June, who's not June, Jill. At the end, when they have all of the medicine in the ship, she's like, I don't know how to fly this ship, so we got to get these other two. It's like, lady, you should get these other two because they're your friends.
No. It doesn't purely even matter. Transactional.
It was fine. Let her go. And I liked that the city melted and cried, and it was kind of sad.
I mean, it was, yes, I like the idea of it. The whole thing with the city, the self-healing city, the city was built over the centuries to become more and more capable, and then gain sentience and doesn't need... I thought it was a really cool idea.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
I think the models looked great for it, especially the long-distance shots of the city up on the hill and the lights coming out, the tower coming out of the top of it. Thought it looked so good. The melting, though, was just styrofoam and gasoline. Like, it just looked... It looked
so like whoever was shooting that is going to be sick. perhaps for a very long time, and
Very
maybe
long
even
time.
their children. It did not look like healthy fumes coming off. And
it looked,
some poor PA was stuck there breathing that in.
We only had budget for one mask. To start off, like we kind of covered the entire gamut.
We covered the whole thing, so we could start back at the beginning, and I guess we should probably talk about the different crew members. There was Dan, right, and Richard, and Jill. You said I keep calling June. Whatever. So what did you think of that whole human team?
The human team was interesting. I like the kind of the idea that they're looking for like this cure for a plague. So the entire thing driving them the whole time is to save millions and millions of these the outer colonies. It was a nice idea. It kind of like gave them big stakes. A lot of the times I complain about these stories where like the stakes are someone's going to get killed, but like in this case it was different. It was like this whole like trying to save.
Save like humanity. Everybody's sick, and this is the only place that a planet in the universe where there's only one place to get the thing, and everyone wants it. You have that, which was cool. One thing that was not weird, but just like an odd choice, was the fact that they were military, and they make a point of saying that they're military because the doctor thinks MC or MSC or whatever they're called is Masters of Science or something, because they're literally looking for a mineral for medicine, and yet no, we're Marine Space Corps, but that didn't have a lot to do with it other than the one military guy that was so gung-ho about. It was just like, okay, why did that even matter? Was it just it didn't matter? I don't know. It was a weird
we really
thing.
should get into the political system that underpins the entire
it's that military-industrial complex, Dan. It's everywhere.
It's even in space.
Oh boy. My dogs are they're very into the military-industrial complex.
Bring the dogs in. We'll just... Do you have mics for each one of them? Or?
All right. Hold on. Let me take care of this.
So the story opens.
Yeah.
The story opens in the TARDIS. We got Sarah Jane and the Doctor. They're going to go on a beach vacation.
Which they've been talking about, right? Because we reviewed the previous story, and I know that had come up, right? It's got what's the name of the planet?
It's a recurring running joke across many seasons and different Doctors. I mean, even in New Who they do stuff like that. But I think it's hard to keep track. I know that we're kind of going chronologically with each Doctor, but we're jumping between them, so it's still really hard to remember 3 weeks at a time what we talked about.
The last one we did was that invasion of the dinosaurs.
Right.
That's the one that preceded it.
But it was cool. So they're going to go on the beach vacation. I do think it's unfair that we get to see Sarah Jane in a swimming suit, but not Pertwee. I mean, it would have been nice to see him in a mankini or something, but no, not
a little
this one.
like a Zardoz kind of.
Oh man, he would completely
Pertwee.
crush that. Too hot for television, probably is the issue. So we got them, and the power drain was really cool. I liked the effect of like just the entire TARDIS just shutting down, and the backup goes and it still shuts down, and just kind of setting that up from the beginning was pretty cool. To the point where when the Daleks finally show up and they're stranded on the planet because of the power drain, they have to figure out how to stop it so they can get back up. Daleks arrive, and of course my first thought is like, how are they moving around? They're machines, so there's no energy. But they sort of
did. I had the same thing. I was
so
like,
glad
dude, why are the lights on and why are they moving? But they totally were like, yeah, we got you. This is a sign.
I mean, it wasn't a very good answer, and it
honestly,
like
that was a great answer because,
fine.
and I'll because
go for it.
They say it's a psychokinetic energy, and he goes, "Do you follow me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Do you?" And she's like, "No." And then she just looks down, and like just for that beat,
it's true.
It was like, okay, I'm with you. But that part I thought was so great. She was all sad that she couldn't understand. Because it's nonsense. It's all nonsense.
It's absolute nonsense. And it's another one of those moments like, hey, they were maybe just added to the story and they had to figure out some way to explain like, they still, and it was fine. They lose the ability to shoot their death rays. Mm-hmm. So they're to see somewhat defenseless Daleks for a certain part of this show until like it felt like moments later, like I know, we'll just put rifles in our stocks, we'll be fine.
Well, how did they get the rifles? Like,
well, that was the thing, is the Doctor was saying that by teaming up with the Daleks, they could perhaps persuade the Exelons that to help them, because the Daleks are these technological masters of, creating invention,
right,
whatever, blah, blah, blah. Basically just saying they can invent anything. It was cute, however, as they're putting together their rifle stocks, their target practice was shooting a mini TARDIS.
Yes.
Which is pretty cute.
That was cool.
Pretty cute. I mean, they have a sense of humor. Who would have known from the Daleks?
And the Daleks to stick with the Daleks too. When we see them, you get that scene that no one else around, and they're like, "Hey, here's the thing: no one must know that we're using the
what we really want it for.
What we really want is to take the medicine and then sell it or take over the world with it." Or
it sounded like they had some other like plans for it itself, but all that it ended up being was they were going to hold that as blackmail.
Yeah, and just sort of do it because everyone wanted it.
But
and then we're going to blow up the planet too was the other thing, right. And that there's more of us than just this. But like the more of us that never played out, right? I mean, it didn't matter whether or not there was more of them.
I mean, I thought they meant there were like a ton more of them on the planet, but
yeah, exactly. Or like ships at the end were going to come in and it was going to be like an armada, but that was just like went nowhere.
I'm sorry, you just made me think of this though. I praised some of the production designs and the models. The one thing that was really horrible, though, was that saucer landing.
Yeah.
It literally looked like it was... Well, two. There was that one. I really liked the snake monster root kind of robot-y thing. Really cool. Except that it was... Like, they might as well have painted the string, like, day-glow orange. Because you could see the string holding the thing up as it was, like, fighting in the... They were in that little pond.
What was that?
You got your CB going? Breaker 19er.
Breaker 10-4.
Convoy. So I mean, it looked really cool. It was an effective creature, but they did not do much to hide the special effects mechanics of how it worked.
Honestly, like all of that, like I thought it was really cool. I didn't really even get taken out of it by seeing those kind of things. That was one of the more interesting ideas. And again, it fed into something you said before, which was that whole concept of a city being able to fix itself and becoming, self-aware and sort of not needing the humans anymore was so cool. And so was the fact that the things they were fighting were almost like roots from this, like, non-organic entity. I mean, I guess they were like pipe, like whatever. It was like some kind of metal thing because it was actually the city itself,
right,
that was being controlled. I thought that was really cool, and it was like I liked the design a lot. It felt like very alien and cool, and
a very different thing. See. It did remind me a little bit of Mystery Science Theater 3000, like one of the robots from that show. But it was effective. It was pretty cool to have like just something different to show us there. Although that fight between the root monster and one of the Exelons, they're like in the water and fighting, and the root sets it on fire.
Yeah,
and the guy's just up to its waist in water, flailing his arms around, as though like couldn't figure out you just need to go under the water, you'd be fine.
Yeah, it was that same scene. Like they're looking and they're like, oh no, and they've got plenty of time to try to save him, and they just watch him get killed. But I thought you were going to talk about the time that the root monster fought the Dalek, and the Doctor just hid behind some old paint cans and was like, that's it, hit him there, that's a good shot, oh, you got it too. And I was like, wait, are these now best friends? I thought he was going to come out and be like, I made friends with this guy and he's going to help us, but that didn't happen.
Brings a towel out.
So what did you think, though, of the, because we sort of talked about him very briefly, but about like the crew, right? So you established that there is this space crew of Marines where the leader has been poisoned, right? They make a point of saying like, whatever weapons they're using is a poison. No one else gets poisoned, and they never cure him. And they drag him out at one other point where he's sort of speaking of the city speaking through him, or I guess he's just saying he can understand because he's like, surrender, and then they all decide to surrender, and then we never see him again, right?
Well, no, we see him die because he is talking to Galloway, and he says, even though Galloway,
yes, he goes, the other guy's going to be in charge, and it's like,
I couldn't quite.
It's a gladiator moment, right? Yeah.
It's pretty good. That was, so that kind of set this guy up for like, well, what is he really doing? And the Daleks send him and one of the other guys up, one of the other Marines up the top of the city
to blow the antenna,
to blow it up, and they have like the 2 charges to blow it up, but he keeps the one. She's like, what is he actually going to do with this? So I like that they had this guy who was like,
the ambiguity was cool, and you're like, oh, he's gonna betray them because that's the obvious thing. But then at the end, he kills himself and kills all of the Daleks.
They're all like the remaining crew, and the Doctor's like, yep, we did a good job. Okay, so where's the ship? We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. There's no remorse for his.
Not
death.
a single wet eye in the house. So there was this This is gonna be fun for you to edit.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's one of the worst. What were we gonna say?
So, when they go to the city, the Forbidden City, they see on the walls all the writing, and
that looks like the Dune logo.
Oh, come on, man! I had this right here. I literally took a screenshot just for you.
Yep, I took a shot of that too. I'm like, if you just switch those 2 letters, it would be the Dune logo.
I think I'll take care of that. Don't worry. Actually, no, I don't even have Photoshop anymore. Gosh darn it.
But I immediately was like, the Dune logo.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is, they brought this back and said like these creatures, the Exelons, have had a civilization for so long. They were spacefaring before most other planets even had.
Yeah, and there's that whole ancient aliens implication that they have come to Earth, and they mentioned Peru, like a temple in Peru. Which then I was like, well, what is it? And then I wanted to look it up, and then because are letters that look like the Dune logo there? I couldn't find anything, so I don't know if they were talking about, is Machu Picchu in Peru? I don't know what temple they were referring to.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was just talking about like I
just generic that temple of or a pyramid of Uru or whatever that one was. Sure.
Oh, we nailed that one down. Good job.
Yeah. What happened? Was it the ziggurat? The Sumerian ziggurat? That's not in Peru. That was in Iraq or something, I think. We're just going to say things. Anyway, if you know what temple they're referring to, and if the Dune logo is on that, then I would be curious to know. And that's part of that first logic puzzle, which is like one of the shapes didn't fit in or something. I wish they gave us a little bit more time with it to do it ourselves, because I was like, well, which one do I have to rewind it? I'm like, I'm not rewinding it.
No, that was not worth it. I mean, yeah, that was a nice way to set up. Like it was kind of, it wasn't a cliffhanger, but it felt like a cliffhanger. As the Daleks are kind of rounding the corner outside the city, and the Doctor and Bilal are trying to get away from them, and the next thing you see, like, they're inside the city with the door closed and everything. So they got through really quick. It's it felt a little cheap, but it was okay because then we got
and you mentioned the tracing. Puzzle. It's a whole touch. It's an iOS temple, like everything is touch based. But beyond just the maze, how did the Daleks trace the symbol on the wall too? Like, I guess with their little stalk.
It must have been.
We got a lot of like Dalek POV shots, which they don't always do. But I always like when they do it, so you see through the circle and what they're looking at and stuff. And there's like a lot of scenes of them just looking at people.
I don't remember that specific effect of the eye stalk. Obviously, in New Who, it's more of like a video monitor sort of thing that you see the perspective.
It's just like a little
I don't
Irish
remember in the
shot.
classic one. It's just kind of, it almost looked like a metal tube on the inside, just kind of shot through that, so you get the spherical reflections of it going through. It did look pretty cool. It just wasn't one that I had kind of recognized from previous times, but it was pretty cool.
Right. And you mentioned to the title, "Death to the Daleks." I guess it paid off because they blew them up and they killed all of them.
I did want to say though, unlike the Tom Baker story in Paris, this could have been called City of Death, and it would have been a better title.
Excellent
I don't know why.
Point.
Death to the Daleks. I guess they just had to do it because
they had to get that name in there.
The ratings, get people watching. But yeah, it was a kind of misleading title, I think, a little bit. I don't know. What else we got?
Florana.
There?
That was the city I couldn't think of, right? That they're always trying to, or planet they're trying to get to, Florana.
Thank goodness.
That was funny, too, all the way back in the beginning, when Sarah Jane and the Doctor are talking about Florana. And what does she say? Something about, like, she can't swim, so she's got, like, the swimmies on her arms or whatever. And he's like, there's so many bubbles in the water. You know, and she's like, I can sink in anything. And I was like, all right, I like you. That's it. Did we cover it all? We both liked it. Daleks, kind of useless.
Overall story. Oh, well, you did talk about like Sarah being a bit more of the damsel in distress than the
a lot more
proactive, leading character with her own agency, to the point where she got kidnapped by the high priest and his minions and drugged.
There's all that. Everyone gets the vape juice. Like they start putting it under their noses for some reason.
Yeah, and it felt like those kind of went on for a little while. Like those,
a little bit.
A couple of those scenes, maybe one too many, and maybe a minute or two too long for those. But yeah, it just.
But in Sarah Jane's defense, or in the characterization of Sarah Jane, she does sort of orchestrate the whole, fake out where she takes the mineral/medicine and puts it in the sacks, and she's sort of saying, you go here and you do this and I'll do that, and even the Doctor's surprised that she sort of, she saves the day,
did the old
saves all the people.
Switcheroo.
Yep. And it was interesting too. You had there's this beacon going off, so you have that sort of plot that they have to do that while the Doctor has to go through
the logic
puzzles in order to destroy the city, because that was a goal, and Sarah has to get the.
We didn't really talk about that. So they do complete the puzzle. They get to the nervous system and brain of the city.
With the guy that turns to dust because the door opens.
To dust when they come in. They got the antibodies that materialize. The two guards that come in.
But just to go back to that part.
Sure.
Was that seemed a little odd to you? Because they tell you that the city is sentient before, so it's not a surprise.
Right.
It just felt like it. Then you see the guy sitting in the chair, and as a viewer, you keep seeing the shot of someone watching them go through, and you're thinking, "Oh, there's a human here."
Yeah.
And then they open it, and he turns to dust, and no, it's just a computer. It almost felt like it would have been better if that was a surprise, and then you thought it was a person, and then no, the city actually became.
That would have been a very difficult thing to pull off. But yes, it was.
It felt like it was just strange that they had that only to what was the point of that other than
misdirect for no real reason? Yeah,
you already knew where it was going anyway. It wasn't a. But yeah, talk about the antibodies, because that was a little strange. It takes a very long time to make them.
Not a whole lot going on there, except you had these transporter type pods constructing antibodies to come in and attack them. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot.
And the Doctor's playing. Doctor's with his Sound Blaster audio cards that he takes out, and he's doing his little tinkering. And the guy's like, Doctor, and the Doctor's not even looking up. It's like, don't you know you just went through there's enemies everywhere. He's a little lackadaisical about his looking up, and then he's like, just it's fine, tell me when they're here, but it's not enough time anyway, and then they get attacked.
Well, that's funny, because he does a similar thing, sort of,
and they only get out of it because of the Daleks, essentially.
Right. With earlier in the story, with him and the Doctor and Sarah go into the caves, and the Doctor's going to scout ahead, and he says, Sarah, you stay here. I'm just going to go up half a mile ahead, and if it looks promising, I'll come back and get you. But she's like, who's going to watch out for me? And you're in a perfectly safe place. But he does this again to her. How many times does he just... Yeah, poor Sarah.
He's a little reckless, but also not aware enough of But that part was cool when they did go under the city where these and then you're like, oh, what's this other race of people? And so there was a lot going on. It was maybe too many elements again, is we see some of that sometimes where there's too much going on.
If there hadn't been the Daleks, would it have been too few? Would there have been enough there to support the entire story without them?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you would have I don't know, you would have had sort of the astronaut family. They're not a family, but we're going to pretend they're a family. Then you have the religious zealots, and then you have the people that are in trouble.
city was
you really
an actual
didn't
character
need
in the story.
Yeah, you got the city that never sleeps. I think it would have worked. I think you had enough elements without the Daleks, because the Daleks didn't add anything other than that bit, I guess, where Sarah's got to get the minerals. But you could have had the minerals being hoarded by the religious zealots. That would have been fine.
Right.
Dan, do you have anything else for this, or should we jump to our listeners?
Listeners.
Oh, we forgot again. We were supposed to do this on Twitter. We were supposed to record this thing on Twitter.
I mentioned that before. I didn't mention it. I thought about it before.
I forgot about it.
Yeah.
We're the worst. We're like that single father that just keeps promising their kids they're going to do something.
I swear we're going to go to the zoo. I just can't do it this weekend. My girlfriend has a foot doctor appointment.
We're going to Mexico for a week. You know this. She wants to meet you, it's just not time. But Dan, what did our fans, our listener fans?
Felt like that came from a real place. I like it. Let's see. Thank you, folks, for responding to us when we put out on Twitter at TODW Show that we were going to record this story. You gave us a bit of your feedback, how you felt about it. So let's take a look what you thought.
Okay,
Sorry,
terrific.
the editing's really going to suck here, but it was so far away I couldn't see it. All right. Okay. I didn't put them in any particular order. Okay. So thank you for reaching out on Twitter at TODW Show, responding to let us know what you thought about this story. We got a bunch of responses this time, Eric. From our friend Paul Paranoid, he says, "This is a funny one, almost great, but it's clunky. The setting's good. The human Space Corps uniforms are fantastic. The idea of the Daleks being made powerless is interesting, but the Daleks' projectile gun gets wearing and their voices aren't treated, and the music is pretty dire."
Yeah, I agree on the music part.
Definitely,
their voice is not the typical Dalek voice. Is that? I didn't even notice that. If that was a thing.
It didn't jump out at me. Maybe it was treated differently, but it didn't really sound that different. It didn't stand out. But that, and definitely the guns were like a little bit like, oh, okay, cool. Paul goes on to say, "I love the first episode, though a rare extended Pertwee Sladen scene in the first appearance of my favorite TARDIS set, and the crazy opening the doors with a crank." Oh, we didn't mention that. Opening the doors with a crank, which I always thought made the physicality of the ship's interior-exterior relationship more, not less, interesting to me. So the power crank goes down, and he has to grab the crank thing to, like, as though it's Bessie, and he needs to wind it up, but that's to open the doors. So weird, especially when Sarah
some of that could be cut too.
It could have been, except it sets up the moment when Sarah goes back into the TARDIS.
Cranks
the Doctor's
the door
now
closed.
Wandering away and going to leave her on her own, and we see that there's someone in the TARDIS with her, which was awesome. That actually set up some really good tension.
Yeah, it was great tension.
And the fact that the crank was so slow acting to try to, and there's someone right behind her she has to use as a weapon, like. That was actually pretty good. So it set up that whole.
She like clubs the guy to death, and then she's got to re-crank back to get out.
Yep.
And you got to stay all with her the whole time.
Stay with her the entire time. I thought it was pretty good, actually. Really enjoyed that. They do. Paul did mention this is the first appearance. I saw this on the article about it as well. This is the first appearance in the console room for Liz Sladen. This is the first time we see Sarah Jane in the console room.
Really? Okay.
Wouldn't have known that because we're seeing things out of order again. But whatever. Yep, that's pretty cool. That was really nice. So
wait,
thank you, Paul.
She was not in the console room for Planet of the. I guess Planet of the Dinosaurs was all on Earth.
Yeah.
It was our planet of the dinosaurs. Okay, that's interesting.
Anyway. So thank you for that, Paul. Lucy McCall says, "I like the ambiguity of Galloway, and I love neurotic Daleks. I love the neurotic Daleks self-destructing in embarrassment." I get
you brought that up, and that was great.
So great.
That's how they should all go out.
Yep. It isn't my favorite Dalek adventure, but the ideas are good, especially the city that ends up fighting those that built it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, awesome concept.
Really nice. Jason at Doctor Who Novels says, "The saxophone music is a bold choice." Yep. Two great plot twists. The Doctor has to ally with the Daleks, and the main guest character is killed early in Part 2. Both go nowhere. But the final episode is wonderful. Love all the mazes and that Part 3 cliffhanger. The Part 3 cliffhanger.
Which was the Part 3 cliffhanger? they're in the
hopscotch. It's
okay.
like don't go any further, and like that's it.
Yeah.
So according to the article in the wiki, that was not the intended cliffhanger, but because of timing of the way that it was coming out, they had to switch it to that. It would what it's supposed to have been the Daleks coming through right behind them with their guns ready to go. But to cliffhanger on hopscotch is pretty great. Darren Lodge says the one with the Exelons wearing sacks, or in some cases nothing, and they glow in the dark.
It's like a planet of early Adrix.
Oh yeah,
because of the sack boy. Did he ever wear a sack, or did we just say that?
No, just you say that he's in a potato sack all the time. He smells like Cheetos. Sarah attacked in the TARDIS. Oh yeah, see, just got it. Unexpected power drains.
Yep.
Daleks with the power to kill, not for long, and the city with root trouble. The tests, and of course, Belial. Interesting choice for a name. It makes me think of Belial, which is like a name of the devil, but this guy was actually great. He was very helpful.
He was cool. I would like to see more of him.
I'd like to actually that it was portrayed by a slightly shorter actor.
Yeah,
actually,
and the actor was great. Like I liked, like he did a really good job of, being sort of like, it reminded me. It seemed like that type of character was in every sort of fantasy science fiction thing of that time. Mm-hmm. There was always like that person you found that's kind of quirky, and they're usually an alien of some kind.
It reminds me of, what's his name? Land of the Lost? Was it Chaka?
Chaka.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
Little Chaka energy.
Big Chaka energy.
Take Chaka, put him in school, give him some education. Now you're talking. What?
Moving right along, Matthew Pittard says...
All of a sudden, Chaka in school doesn't sound like that half a bad of ideas. You get Rodney Dangerfield, goes to Rodney Dangerfield. Chaka, you got something.
That's great, yeah. Matthew Pittard says, just wanted to drop a line to say how much I've been enjoying the podcast. I'm still deep in very old episodes, but I am glad you can look at this era with less critical eyes and appreciate their storytelling. Hey, as much as we can, we do.
It's true.
And look, Eric's riveted. Look at him. Barely yawning it off.
I am not falling asleep.
Matthew goes on to say, this serial has the worst cliffhanger in all of Classic Who. I'm sure he's referring to that hopscotch being hopscotch. This... having to wait a week. Having to wait a week and talk to your friends. What is the hopscotch about? Oh my goodness. Really great cliffhanger. Who Can Convince You podcast says... Love the story. Clever little plot that rattles along nicely. Shot pretty well, and Pertwee is on form, including the judo chops that you said before. I love
the sideways, knocking two chumps out from behind him with the left and right. Good. He waits a little too long to free himself, because again, we talk about Sarah. He's just abandoned Sarah Jane, and then he walks with them for like 20 minutes, and then easily gets away from the guys with the chops and stuff.
The chops. Goes on to say, yes, it is. Yes, it's Terry Nation rehashing ideas, but it works.
Well, Terry Nation rehashing ideas only as far as the Dalek part goes, and I just would love to know, did he conceive of this entire story, because it's really interesting, and then tack on the Daleks, or did somebody else not get credit for doing most of the work, and then Terry Nation rolls in and.
Maybe some of you super fans who remember.
I'm sure we'll hear from
the era around it. I'd love to hear more about this. You can email us at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com if you want to let us know about that. Let's see. Homeschooled Film School says, can't wait for our this review. I hope it met with your expectations. Mm-hmm. The Overseer says, awesome. This is one of my favorite Pertwee serials. That's high praise.
Yeah.
For Pertwee. I think he's got a lot of good stuff, but that's great. Thank you very much for replying on the Twitter. Obviously you'll see some of our GIFs there that we'll put reaction GIFs from this story, so please check those out.
It
there.
Seemed
also
like there would
Instagram.
be some good GIFs in this one, but I always think that, and then you get there and it's not always easy to do. It's very hard work for Dan to do his GIFs, so please share them and credit Dan.
We got a good division of labor here. I wouldn't want to edit this mess.
No, you don't.
So
I don't want to edit this mess.
Thank goodness we got Eric. But like I said, you can also, if you're not on the Twitter or you want to send us something a little more long form, you can send us an email at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. And we got an email about the Gunfighters, our last previous story that we had reviewed. This is from our friend Mike F., who says,
"Hello, Mike.
I missed the opportunity to comment on Twitter regarding the gunfighters, so I thought I'd send an email. I probably haven't seen the Gunfighters in 35 years when I was 10 years old and had it on a VHS tape courtesy of public television. Love it. The main thing I remember about it is that it was one of the only episodes I was too embarrassed to watch with any family members around. That's all. Because you were just so turned on by the singing and dancing. I mean, this is one you want to watch in private when everyone's gone to sleep.
Just play that wonderful hook.
So good. That song will never leave my head. Mike does say, P.S. I don't see the Keys of Marinus anywhere on your show schedule. As a kid, I remember liking that one more than most Hartnell episodes, certainly more than the Gunfighters. Anyway, I'd enjoy hearing you guys review that one.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's on our list or not. Our list was based on listener feedback, so I think a number of these stories, including, I remember the Gunfighters was specifically requested. Probably,
I think it was requested as a joke, as a cruel joke
to put us through. Although, again, if you listen to the review, I had a great time.
You did enjoy it. There's a certain way to watch this story. So thank you for that. Again, you can email us if you'd like to send us a message that way.
Yeah.
You can also go to theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail. Sorry, that was the email address I just mentioned.
You could go to the email address and send us an email. You could also leave us a review on iTunes, which we haven't had one forever. The last one we have, I think, is in like March or something. So it's now October, so you can see what a review drought we're in.
Eric's barely been hanging on, folks. So if you could help him out, that'd be great. You can also go to theolddoctorwhoshow.com. There you'll see our schedule. You'll see each of the individual episodes there. You can listen to them streaming from the site, as well as see the entire gift galleries for each of the stories. I don't post all of them on Twitter, only do like a handful, but there's usually a couple dozen there. So go there and grab them and use them in your social medias however you'd like. That'd be fantastic.
Speaking of schedule, the next episode is the Invasion of Time, so get on the watching of that. That's a Tom Baker story that I'm not sure who the companion is for that, but I am.
We'll find out in 3 weeks.
We will find out together.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's probably going to be Leela, right? Because I think we're still doing Leela stories because we're doing them in order. So I expect it to be Leela. Dan, didn't we have something else? We had to pick a companion or something.
Oh, this is true. So someone on Twitter tweeted at Twitter asking us, let me find this. The Overseer says, this is at The Overseer. The Overseer, this is at Overseer on Twitter, says, who's the worst actor to appear in Doctor Who for you guys? Would be interesting to hear your opinions. Yeah. Who's the worst actor?
Oh, that's
This is not one that I can really.
Wait, so this is anybody, not like a companion.
I think this is anybody. I mean, maybe do you want to limit it?
That's a very large net. I don't know. Let's do companions because I feel like I don't even know.
Main characters.
Let's just stick with main companions.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Chameleon?
Oh,
or
maybe. See,
Turlo could be good at Power Pop. Turlo's got his moments.
He does, but here's the thing.
Adric's the easy answer, I think.
I feel Adric is the obvious and easy answer. I'm very conflicted about this question simply because there are oftentimes
no bad companions. That's the answer.
That is absolutely true. We mentioned this sometimes in our reviews that, like we just did with Liz Sladen and what they did with Sarah Jane, and you were clear, Eric, to say. You corrected yourself, and it wasn't what Liz Sladen was doing. It was more what they were doing with the writing.
Yeah, the writing.
And I think that's often the case. I don't think the actors per se. I can't think of any like bad actors. Even for Adric, a lot of the times I don't necessarily think it's him. I think it's the writing and directing. Maybe not giving him enough to do.
Yeah, or it's easy for us to goof on Adric, but
sure.
I know there are times where I was like. I'm Team Adric all of a sudden if you go back through some of these reviews.
They all have wonderful moments. I mean, I don't love Leela. I don't like the character at all. But that doesn't mean that I don't think the actress is doing a good job.
And I don't know if I like that guy, Steve.
Yeah,
The newer guy on the Heart
but
was
it's not.
newer.
But again,
from the
that's a
Hartnell
different
era.
question. Like, do you like this character as like what they're doing, what they bring to the story, what their unique qualities are, versus is the person portraying the character doing a good job or not? I don't think I can actually answer this question because I'm biased towards the actors. I think they're doing a good job. And in some cases, just don't have enough to do or aren't directed well enough.
I'm sure, like, if we said, okay, based on the original question, anybody.
Sure.
There's probably so many bad guys or whatever that were
minor
in it that were like, that guy's terrible.
Yes.
I would have to re-listen to everything we've reviewed and take notes and then write it down. But give me your worst companion. It's not as a bad acting because I feel like that's inherently kind of mean. Uh-huh. But your least favorite companion, is it Leela?
It's Leela.
So
I think
even more than Adric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adric. I mean, he had some. And again, it's not the actress, it's the character. I don't think it fits. The savage thing. Trying to keep playing that up. And making her wear like the skimpy outfits all the time and just like not give. I guess over time the character does grow, and that's a benefit to having a long running show, a lot of stories, a lot of opportunity for the characters to do different things. So over time, I think it's hit or miss and got better. But generally speaking, probably my least favorite companion to see. What about you?
I was thinking, like, was it? God, this is tough. I mean, it's not Adric. I'll tell you that because honestly, I feel like anytime Adric is in there, I'm gonna probably enjoy the story more, even if it's just because it's easier to get material. To do this. You
love the Romanas both. You love both the Romanas. You love.
There's tons of people I don't know that well. Like I feel like we did someone called Dodo last Hartnell story. Yeah. Don't know her at all.
That was the only time we saw Dodo.
Same thing with Steve. Like I didn't love that visitors or whatever the astronaut Steve, but we've only done 2 stories with him.
Right.
And maybe he's great. When I think about him in that dumb cowboy outfit from
it was funny though. Like he did great physical comedy.
So I'm not gonna put him on there. And I like Robot, so it's probably not gonna be Chameleon either.
Canine?
I love Ace. I'm trying to just think of
can't say Ace, of course.
No, she would be towards my top. God,
boy,
I'm gonna have to say. It's not Ian either, or Barbara. I can't.
Oh God, it's not Barbara. I know it's not Barbara.
Is it?
We
Susan
know how you feel.
Foreman?
It might be.
Sometimes she would get on my nerves. I feel guilty about that, but
again, it's not so much the actress, and it's definitely the character. Very first,
I felt like they ran out of things to do with her.
They don't know what they're doing with the show. They have a lot of she was the pure damsel in distress the entire time. The acting was of the era, very melodramatic. So I think a lot of that was the direction as well.
Yeah, and then you think about like Perry too, where there were times where she really worked, and then times that wasn't working because of like what they were doing with that character. But then you think about when she was bald and she was like had the power of the snake energy. That's the high point.
Yeah,
that's a high point, Dan. I'm gonna have to say Susan Foreman. I think just because I felt like all the times that she was there, I felt like I'd rather have Babs doing some stuff. I don't know. Sure. It's fine.
But so I'm gonna go with that. Definitely wasn't. I literally just said their name.
Who was it?
I'm so
Victoria.
Sorry
like there's people like Victoria and Polly or whoever that I have a hard time remembering and even keeping them apart. And I agree with you on everything about Leela. But I still kind of like her. But as far as she's written in the Savage thing is very.
Nyssa, Tegan.
Nyssa. Remember they made poor Nyssa drop her pants in that one?
What about Mel?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there was like a corny show tunesy energy to her, but it was also kind of charming sometimes.
Big hair, bright colors, but she still was able to, she was one of those companions who was able to work on her own and not be the damsel in distress. So I like her for that.
I don't like being negative and saying bad things about people anyway. Yeah. I feel like I'm starting in a bad place, and they're all good in their own way.
Zoe was great. Jamie is great. I'm just going back and reading.
I had to get a list
really
to look
that
through.
Well either. We don't know Polly.
We had some. Polly, I think, was in Power of the Daleks, that animated one, and the animated version sort of looked like Nico. But I don't know if we saw her in.
It's got to be Susan Foreman.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that.
I'm looking at all of them, and I agree. It has to be Susan. And again, it's not the actress; it's the character. But yeah,
all right,
wow,
we're done.
Hot takes. Hot takes.
That took a lot. Yeah, you can throw us those kind of questions, and we'll answer them. All right, Dan, are we done?
We are done. We did do it. So, folks, check us out online. Eric, if someone wanted to get a sticker to show people how much they love our podcast, what can they do?
I literally just renewed the P.O. Box, so it's good to go for another 6 months. It's P.O. Box 2131, Red Bank, New Jersey. That's NJ 07701, United States. Self-addressed stamped envelope. And then I will put stickers in it and put it in the mail. Right? Good? And you can follow me on Twitter at eGrissom and on Instagram at eGrissom.
You can follow
Dan,
me.
What about your little...
DanJNJ on
Dan
the Twitters.
J.
But yeah, you might as well just be following TODW Show because that's where all the important stuff is.
Yes, follow that.
So that's it. All right, then. Until we talk again...
Yeah, until next time when we do whatever I already said. I already forgot what it was, but it's a Tom Baker story called The Invasion of Time.
The Invasion of Time.
Can you imagine it took that long in Doctor Who before an Invasion of Time? That seems like it's definitely one of those like generator names.
Yep.
I know literally nothing about that too, so I'm interested to see how it goes.
This is all getting cut, right?
Yeah, are we done? Stay tuned for the Chucky show. The Chucky TV show. They made a TV show with Chucky.
My brain playing my games. Just up, I wanna escape. Sometimes I think it's too late. Too many problems wanna deflate. Same change on a different day. Out of touch with my fate. Can't recognize my face. Still I face decisions that I know I can't make. It's something in my blood, 'cause every time I bleed it's blue. And I haven't felt so well, but I'm not hiding from the truth. Just diving straight into the deep end. I don't have a reason to not find my meaning. I know I can, I just need an aspirin. Truth is that I'm drowning. I cannot hear myself. Broken, hurt, but I'm open.
Where's my robot, you know?